In Python, type conversion is converting the value of one data type to a value of another data type. The int function in Python converts whatever value you pass into an int. You get a type error, however, if the value can't be converted to an int. If you pass in a string that looks like an integer, it gets converted to the integer that it looks like. If you pass floats into the int function, they are always rounded down or truncated. If you pass in a string that looks like a float, it results in a value error. If you pass in binary or hexadecimal literals, they get converted to their regular base 10 counterpart. The key to making sure the numbers are binary or hexadecimal literals and not strings are their 0b and 0x respectively. Finally, if you pass in strings that represent an integer in a different base, then pass in the base you're working with as a keyword argument, then that will get converted to its regular base 10 counterpart. The float function in Python is used to convert whatever value you pass into a float. You get a type error if the value can't be converted to a float. For the special values, you can convert the string nan, meaning not a number, to the float nan. Also, you can do something similar with the strings of positive and negative infinity. You can also pass scientific notation strings into the float function. If you're rusty on your scientific notation, 1e negative 2 means 1.0 times 10 to the negative 2, or 0.01. You can also just straight up pass an int into the float function and get back the int 0.0. Finally, you can pass in a float string like 2.5 and get it converted to the float value 2.5. Bool returns whether the value you pass in is truthy or falsy. Truthy is where a non-Boolean value gets converted to true in a Boolean context. Falsy, on the other hand, is where a non-Boolean value gets converted to false in a Boolean context. There are a small number of values that are falsy, everything else is truthy. The values that are falsy include false, none, 0, 0.0, and empty strings, lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. The list constructor in Python converts whatever container you pass into a list. If you pass in nothing, it simply returns the empty list. If you pass in a tuple, nothing special happens, it just gets converted straight to a list. If you pass in a string, the list contains every single character in the string in order. If you pass in a set, you can't guarantee the order the list will be in once it's returned, so if you want it sorted, for instance, use the sorted function. Last, if you pass in a dictionary, you'll get a list of the keys in the dictionary in the order the dictionary is in. Tuple constructor function in Python converts whatever container you pass into a tuple. A tuple is similar to a list, but cannot be changed once it's initialized. If you pass in nothing to the tuple function, it simply returns the empty tuple. If you pass in a list, nothing special happens, it just gets converted straight to a tuple. If you pass in a string, the tuple contains every single character in the string in order. If you pass in a set, you can't guarantee the tuple will be in once it's returned, so if you want it sorted, for instance, use the sorted function. Last, if you pass in a dictionary, you'll get a tuple of the keys in the order the dictionary is in. We're breaking into real exciting territory now. The stir function in Python converts whatever you pass into a string. Ints and floats work similarly, they get quotes around themselves. Lists, tuples, and sets work similarly, they get quotes around their containers and nothing about their container itself changes. Dictionaries get you a bit of excitement if you use string keys. The quotes the return value is surrounded in will be the opposite of the ones you used in the dictionary itself. Finally, if you pass in nothing to the stir function, you get the empty string. In Python, the dictionary constructor function lets you create a new dictionary. The first thing you can do with this function is pass in a regular dictionary literal, meaning pass in a dictionary directly into the function. This functionality isn't all too spectacular, but that's just the start. You can also pass keyword arguments into the dict constructor, where the keyword arguments in this example are the A, B, and C, and 1, 2, and 3 are the values you are providing to the keyword arguments. When it becomes a dictionary, you see in the code that the keyword arguments become the keys, and the values you provide to the keyword arguments become the values. One word of warning, though, these keyword arguments must follow Python's variable naming rules. Another thing you can do is mix keyword arguments and dictionary literals in the dict constructor. You can also pass a zip object into the dict constructor. But if you make a dictionary out of an object A being zipped to object B, the values in object A will be the keys, and the values in object B will be the values. The frozen set function in Python converts whatever container you pass into a frozen set. A frozen set is a set that cannot be changed once it is initialized. Lists, tuples, and strings all work similarly when passed into the frozen set function. It removes duplicates, but other than that, has every item from the original structure in it. Sets are your whoop-de-doo example. They convert the already existing set to a frozen set, so all this does is make it impossible to change the set moving forward. Finally, passing in a dictionary makes a frozen set of keys. The set function in Python converts whatever container you pass into a set. Lists, tuples, and strings all work similarly when passed into the set function. It removes duplicates, but other than that, it has every item from the original structure in it. If you pass in nothing to the set function, you get an empty set. This is the only way to get an empty set because empty curly braces will give you an empty dictionary. Finally, passing in a dictionary makes a set of keys.